Welcome to the Brooklyn Podcast with yours truly, Anthony Puccio, my co-host, Colin Helwig. Colin, we're in the dog days. How are you doing? How's your summer going before we get into the Nets? It hasn't been too eventful over there.
Yeah, my summer's not too shabby. Been watching Shark Week. I actually got some issues with Shark Week. Shark Week used to be like, we're gonna bring these cool scientists out on like the boats. They're gonna discover like a new species. You're gonna see some crazy shit that like no one has ever seen before. Now it's just like, all right, let's have John Cena go into a cage with like a great white shark.
When we were in high school, like around that time, it was awesome. Like
When I was a little kid, I used to like set the DVR and just in case I missed. But anyway, I'd be like planted like in the couch, ready for all the new shark stuff to come out every year.
it's too commercialized now. It's superficial.
Yeah. How's your summer been?
Good man. I just got back from Arizona for my brother's bachelor party.
Oh
I've
yeah.
never been to the desert before. Have you?
No. Furthest west I've been is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is not even west.
It was certainly, I definitely stood out like a sore thumb there. Either that or I looked like a New York transplant. But 105 degrees here or there. Went to Diamondback Stadium, which was pretty cool. Caught a
Nice.
caught a BP home run. Yeah,
Oh,
you
damn,
know.
that's
So
fire.
yeah, we had a
Damn.
nice time. I was out there, like I said, roaming the desert, just taking the sights in and looking at wedding venues now, Colin. When I started Nets Nation and with Nets World, I was like this little kid. So for those of
Yeah.
you listening and still tapped in with us and with myself, I appreciate it. I know you as well, Colin. So without
Bingo.
further ado, let's move on. Cam Thomas right now is the hot topic. Um, we've spoken a lot about him throughout the season, the off season, just kind of waiting to see what happens. And today, the latest report comes from Jake Fisher, who says that the Nets offered Cam Thomas 2 years at 14.1 million per year with a team option. Colin, what do you make about this news? I know it's a little bit of a shock, maybe. Just came out about 20, 30 minutes before this podcast dropped. But any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I'd be curious where the Nets need to meet a certain number with how much money they have to spend before the season starts. I'm curious with that contract, how much is left over? Because I'm still of the opinion that the Nets just signed all these rookies. I want these guys to play. I want them to get burned. I want them to get minutes. I would rather them give Cam Thomas the money to fill up, you fill up your silo of the money that you have to spend. And rather than, like save like vet minimums to sign vet minimums. Cause like I don't want like Lonnie Walker Jr. is like a bad example because like, I know he just signed a fat deal overseas, but like Lonnie Walker, for example, like super exciting to watch. But like I don't want him coming in and like taking minutes from like Yegor or Drake Powell or guys like that. So I'm almost at a point now where I understand don't spend more money than you need to on anything ever. That's like a good life rule. But I also think that makes a little bit more sense like me as like a 26-year-old person living in New York City where everything is expensive. Whereas if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you're this billion-dollar organization or whatever. I think there's something that can be said for like, all right, we take care of our people. And if it's a marginal little
Right.
thing, you should like pay Cam Thomas is where I'm at. And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
this big thing where it's like if maybe he doesn't turn out to be this great player, develop the way they want him to, that, it's a bad contract for years. But you can do him a little bit of a favor and make yourself look like, hey, the Brooklyn Nets are an organization that takes care of their people. Like, you don't need to be penny pinching right now, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's a good point. And I wanted to emphasize that on the show. Like, wherever you are on the Cam Thomas debate, like, we've always praised Sean Marks for the way that he treats players and the way that he handles these relationships with agents. And I just kind of feel like with where the Nets are at and where they're going, it couldn't kill to exactly what you said. Like, do the right thing by him. Look, he was drafted by Sean Marks. He's a homegrown player. He's still only 23 years old, and we know that he's got a lot of talent, at least scoring the rock. But regarding Marks' reputation, we really do praise him when he does the right thing for players. Um, and in this situation, I think we should hold him to the same standards, right? Like, if the Nets aren't going to be good for another 2 years, I don't see why it would be the worst thing in the world to give Cam 20 mil a year, 2 years, 20 mil a year. Like, just like as you said, almost as like a good deed for him. And if he wants to go his separate ways after this, like, then so be it. After the 2 years, then so be it. At least he made his money and he could leave on his terms. I just kind of feel like they're. I understand this is a complete CBA and market thing. Like in previous years, this probably wouldn't have been the case, but I kind of feel like he's getting dragged through the mud, and that's kind of been an embodiment of his time in Brooklyn a little bit. No, like it's almost like people are very quick to dislike Cam Thomas, especially with his affiliation with the Big Three, and he was kind of the last remnants of that team. So I'm just kind of confused why they can't figure this out. Like I'm not confused as to why it's such a problem with this new CBA, but like they're gonna stink. With or without him, they're gonna win 25 games, maybe less this year. And like I just don't understand this. Like, wouldn't you want this guy part of your team, Colin? Like you're building this homegrown squad, and
Mm.
it's not a diss to any of these other guys that they picked, but they picked five first round picks. I don't know if any of them at 19 years old were able to do what Cam Thomas was able to do at 19. Am I crazy for that? Maybe it's unfair, but
No, no, I agree with you. It really it feels like they're like they have all the you don't always have to be the guy on Shark Tank like trying to get the best deal and like finesse all the time. Like the Nets have all this cap space. They're rich in terms of cap space and it's
right.
like they're going to the car dealership and like bartering with the guy for like so that they can get like a discount. Like I just and you hit the nail on the head. Like it's if they're a contending team and you got to preserve cap space, like if for specific like trajectories and windows, it's one thing. But this is the beginning of like a long rebuild.
And I think a lot of fans, especially on Twitter, like really, really look into every little thing. But at the end of the day, this is not our money. And whether you like it or not, Cam Thomas is probably one of the very few reasons that you're gonna watch the Brooklyn Nets this year. Like,
Yes, yes.
like he's not only fun to watch, but he's your best player. And your fans do like him, at least a majority of them do, or half of them do. I don't know. But
Yeah.
at least to get people into the building. Like this is the one guy that I actually want to watch outside of a couple of the rookies this year.
Hmm.
And I want to see him
Yeah.
grow at 23 years old. It all feels very, I don't know. Like that Joe Tsai's money is not my money. This is a mega billionaire that we're talking about. Like, so what if they pay him more? Like what is it? How does it hurt Anthony Puccio or Colin Hellwig? Right? It hurts us if they don't have Cam Thomas because then we're watching more really, really bad hoops next year. But it's great if he comes back. At least we have somebody to watch. And now
Yeah.
at this point, Colin, I'm asking myself, like, have they burned the bridge enough? Like, you see this issue with Zach Lowe, and I think Cam Thomas was wrong for that, for cursing at him, and uh,
I liked it.
obviously,
I kind of liked it.
yeah.
I'll be honest.
I
Maybe it's
mean,
not the
it's
best thing
tough,
to do, but I'll never. I'll always support a guy who sticks up for himself. And I appreciate when people are authentic. And I'm sure his agent is like contractually you shouldn't have done that, but I appreciate authenticity. And he responded probably what he thought when he, like
yeah.
saw that like F you, you don't know what you're talking about. Like you're you're a very confident basketball player who's this is your livelihood. Yeah. Say it with your chest.
I would say it wasn't the most mature thing to do, but I think at
Sure.
this point, him saying
I'll settle for that. Yeah.
he feels disrespected though, and not
Mhm.
from Zach Lowe. This whole situation, like I said, it kind of feels like everybody's just kind of like dragging him through the mud, like he's some scrub, as if 29 other teams they might not want to give up a lot of pieces or assets for him, but if he was a free agent on the market, I'm sure they'd be glad to have him on their team, even as a
Mhm.
6 man type of player. I don't understand why the Nets are doing this to one of their own. Like you don't hear them do this with anybody else, but they're doing it with Cam Thomas, and it feels like it's been this way. 2 years ago, like when he wasn't starting, Jacques Vaughn was head coach, and Joe Tsai had to kind of tap him on the shoulder and tell him like, you need to start Cam Thomas. You need to play Cam Thomas. That was a real thing at one point. even and time just went on, and we're in this like impasse, and it's just
I wouldn't connect this, and I understand it's, like, easy to do that, but I wouldn't totally connect it to them benching him and, Jock Vaughn talking about, "Oh, we lost the game," even after he had these incredible, like, scoring feats and just being a negative Nancy for no reason to this. I think
yeah,
it is like, we've heard just as many reports about scouts saying, "We love Cam Thomas, we love him in our building." I think it's
right,
just the Nets are just trying to be pencil pushers, and they're trying to do an A-plus job on the books. And while I understand those efforts, sometimes it's better to do a little bit more, maybe an A-plus job in, like, a PR standpoint, because you
yeah.
don't need to nail it on the books right now. It's good to nail it on the books, but you don't really need to. You can sacrifice a little bit there to come out and say, "We take care of our people," and he's also a fucking incredible scorer. Like,
Right.
his worst thing about Cam Thomas is that he came into the NBA at a time where the isolation scorer has never been, like, less valued, because we've gone
Right.
past this era of stars and, Carmelo Anthony dribble down the shot clock, take a fadeaway shot. Like, it's so much more team oriented and getting high percentage looks and being able to do two sides of the ball, which I understand because that's winning basketball. But it bothers me when people let it diminish his talent, I guess, is where I'm at, because I still think at the end of the day, and I'm going to sound like ball don't stop here, but, like, being able to, like, score in isolation, put the ball through the hoop one on one is, like, the hardest thing to do at a court. And I think because we're in this era of deep rosters and guys who can play both sides of the ball and being complementary and making it just being a cohesive cog in a system, and that's how the NBA is right now, we're kind of undervaluing what he does from a talent perspective.
No, no, it's fair. And Sean Marks even said like after the draft, having these guys like I think it was like this is a half second lead. You hold the ball for a half second and you make a decision.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas isn't really that kind of player, and that's okay, right? Especially come playoff time. Not that we've really been saying that word a lot, but come playoff time, those are the guys that you need.
But that's what it is too, though. Like, at the other half of it is playoff time is likely not in the contract that we're gonna, in this theory, pay Cam Thomas a good amount of money for.
Right, right.
We're all freaking out about nonsense.
No, you're right.
Not us.
And bundling all the misfortunes from the past to now, it is apples and oranges. My point is, it's just like it just feels like for some reason it's not working with like between the Nets and Cam Thomas. Maybe it's the front office's style and their strategy, the way that they want to build this team, and Cam Thomas's his personality and his attitude towards the game. Um, I'm beginning to think that at this stage of the game, like both of them would just be better moving on. Like it's weird. Like if he comes back, he's gonna be pissed off. He comes back on a 1 or 2 year deal. He's not gonna be excited to play here unless he's making 25 mil a year. We already heard he wanted 30. If it's somewhere in between there, then great. But I don't think we're gonna find that. So if he's coming back to Brooklyn on a low end deal, you know that he's gonna have that attitude. You know that he's not gonna want to play here long. So what? He proves himself and then he walks, or he's kind of
I was
like a
just saying
dick all year.
it's gonna be hard for him to prove himself capable of more money and also have a bad attitude. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. I just feel like he's in a situation where
He's
he's set up
he's
to
gonna have to
fail.
prove him if he comes back on a deal that he doesn't like, he's gonna have to prove himself, like, and maybe it'll just be he wears a mask and it's alright, like, "Look at me, great organizational guy, and I'm scoring a ton of money," but secretly, I'm like, "I hate all you guys because he's making me a lot of money."
Yeah.
That's the only way that he'd be able to do it.
Do you feel like to a certain degree though that he's being set up to fail? Like is it? Do you think it would be if you're Cam Thomas right now and you're his agent? Like, are you thinking like how could we get out of Brooklyn? Like, how could we get a sign and trade or like explore options elsewhere? Because it's not like he's coming and signing with a championship contending team. He's signing with a rebuilding team. It's not the end of the world for a 23-year-old, but with everything that's gone on with it just like my perspective, I would say just move on, both sides. Let the kid walk. It's been a problem. I don't know.
I
That's
think
not
it's
what
easy to
I
feel
want.
that it's easy to feel that way right now, but then when, the Scotto notification hits that, like, he's back, I think moods are, like, naturally, like, will, like, change in a second. I don't know. I guess I don't have much of an answer. It's like, I think also like, dude, maybe just take the money and say, yeah, this sucks, but there's no way out of this. There's no one else is gonna be able to offer you money. I just think it's like they're in a box and they keep trying to look for ways out. And it's like, all right, you just got to accept that this is where you're at because it's unfortunate that you're this style of player, you're a restricted free agent, and this is the way the money landscape is right now in the league. And the
Right.
longer we kind of like sit and like pout about it, then even if it's justifiable, then it's just not going to be good for anybody.
I don't know how things are gonna play out. I don't know, and I don't know how I view Brooklyn's off season right now. Like, it's very, very underwhelming, and there just isn't much to get excited about as a fan. Like, I know we have the young rookies to watch, but they're all 19 years old. Like, it's it'll be fun seeing
Yeah,
them progress and improve in certain areas, but Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr., you know,
they're not a good team. This is how summers are when you're not a good team.
it's tough. It's tough to be a Nets fan. I mean, it feels like every time we get on these podcasts, we say it's tough to be a Nets fan. Like, it just feels like we
Not
can't have
wrong.
anything else.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some summer league. We got to see some flashes from different
I
guys.
do. Let's hit our. You cool if we hit D-Rock? He's been in here. He wanted to ask us, like, he
Go
said
for it.
he
Go
said
for it.
Sean Marks cannot justify paying Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson more than 20 mil per season, while they led us to the lottery, and now they're underbidding Cam Thomas. D-Rock thinks he should take the qualifying offer and just bet on himself.
I kind of think you should too at this point. But the reason Cam Johnson and Clax got that money is because that's probably what they were going to get on the market anyway. The Nets know that Cam Thomas might not get that, so it's like, why
Yeah,
should we pay $20 for someone who's going to pay $10 for something? Again, I think you should just, my opinion, like you should probably just pay the kid because he deserves it, and you have the money, and it'll be fine. But I don't think the team's going to do that because they would have done it by
yeah.
now probably.
I don't know, man. I think they're hypocritical. I agree with you and D-Rock. I think they're hypocrites, though. They do the right thing until uh, the market tells them otherwise. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. They've been praised
No.
so many times
Every
for doing
every
the right thing.
every time an organization says, "Oh, we're a family," it's crap. I'm not gonna say how likely it is, but I'll say that I like Jaden Ivey. I think he's great at getting downhill and getting through that first line of defense, which is really the toughest thing to do as a point guard. He's the same age as Cam Thomas. I think sometimes people think that maybe he's younger, so he would fit the timeline better for the Nets, but they're the same age. They're both 23 years old, so I wouldn't fall in like that line of thinking because I know a lot of the moves are the Nets are trying to get younger, so that wouldn't exactly play here, but I think he makes sense. He's a very good young basketball player. He plays both sides of the ball. That seems to be a box the Nets are trying to check with all their guys these days. So I could see it. And Cade is very much Detroit's guy. And they gave the Knicks all they could handle in the playoffs this year with Cade running the show and Jaden Ivey was hurt. So I could see a world where the Pistons are thinking, all right, we can get Cam Thomas for maybe a little bit less than what he's worth, and we're going to build even further around because Cam is, or at this point in his career, more of an off ball guy. And I don't think Ivy's quite there yet. So if you want to maximize and leverage your team and all the skills that they have, Cam Thomas would make sense in a Pistons jersey, and Jaden Ivey would make sense in a Nets jersey. They just have to figure out a way to make it work on the books.
Yeah. I mean, I agree because I told you earlier in the show, like I think it's just time Cam Thomas and the Nets move on. If he could find himself in a better situation and they somehow end up with a solid young player in return, then great. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't have much more to say. Let's get into summer league. I want to hear your thoughts. You covered a lot of it. You were watching close. What do you got for me? 1-4, they finished. Anybody stick out the most to you? Anything you want to really discuss?
Yeah, I mean, one of the primary concerns with Yegor coming in, and it still is, but was the 3-point shot, and he shot 44% from deep. I think the highlight of the whole summer league was against the Magic game, the only game that they won. Orlando, the Nets were up big. Orlando slowly but surely started coming back, and then Yegor just banged three threes in a row. So
Yeah,
catch and shoot, one of them he just walked right into it. That was great to see. I will say though, being the pessimist that I am, remember that it's summer league and I bet you if you went back and you looked at it, there are dozens of cases where guys shot 40+% from three in the summer league and then went on to shoot 20% or whatever from in the regular season. So while it's an encouraging sign, I'm not waving the celebration banner yet, saying like, all right, Jaeger can shoot, but it was a good sign. I think that is probably my biggest takeaway. Nolan looked good too, though. Fast as hell, blow by defenders. Kind of the opposite of Yegor, who really needs to see a screen every time he came down the ball with the ball.
I'm thrilled with his shooting. I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this, but I feel like these guys, like this positionless ball, like I feel like nobody is gonna know their role, or it's gonna be very confusing, like mixing and mashing. Like I understand the idea of wanting to play team basketball and like it's a team collaborative effort and everything like that, but like Colin, I don't know if you've ever been a part of a team where like you're playing point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and power forward, and you're trying to learn these plays from all different positions. It's really, really hard. And then especially in a fast-paced offense like that, if you're constantly changing positions and where you are, they can call themselves positionless all they want, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have a job, and that's you're gonna have to be somewhere on the court and do something, right? And within this formation, like I just wonder with these guys that are just 6'9" ball handlers, playmakers, as Yegor called them, like it's gonna be tough for them. It's gonna be really, really tough for them, and it the gamble might pay off, and I could look like an idiot right now, or honestly, it could be devastating. I don't see anywhere in between. Like if they all turn out to be role players, then great. But like all of that for this,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a lot of. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun watching summer league. I liked seeing Yegor hit those clutch threes, and I liked watching Nolan. Uh, but he needs to bulk up.
yeah. No, the handles guys not having enough tight handle on the ball was definitely the most concerning. I think for whatever reason, when it goes from drafts, like I laid out my criticisms in our last episode, but once summer league starts, it's like, all right, like I'm gonna only be positive. I feel like there's a certain hood we put on watching summer league because everyone kind of understands these guys are all kind of like kids and like prospects and stuff like that. But no, you're absolutely right. The handle the ball needs to be tighter, not just with like the ball handlers, but I know Danny Wolf had that great game at the end, and he had a couple nice passes in there too to Timmy, but handle needs to be
Yeah.
tighter for every guy that's pressing you and trapping you in summer league. It's like 5 times worse, like in actual like NBA games, and it's 5 times faster. So that was slightly concerning, but yeah, I think I'm just I have put my goggles on where I'm just trying to be positive because if you really wanted to, you could go to summer league and be like, this guy is not going to be a good NBA player, and this guy is not going to be a good NBA player because naturally, because they're in summer league, 90% of these guys aren't playing more than like 5 minutes a game in the NBA right now. So that's just kind of how it
Yeah.
is.
I think we can move on now, Colin, with some of the mailbag questions, and then we'll call it a night. We got a similar question from Jonathan Andrews and T. Rawden. Thank you both for the questions and support. Rocking with us as always. Jonathan Andrews says, "I know the season is all about development and tanking, positioning for next draft. Which top 2026 prospect do you think fits with our youngsters?"
Tanking? What the hell is that? No, I'm gonna go with AJ just because I think he's the biggest one, and the Nets just took I guess 3 guards, but like one big who's like kind of plays like a guard too, and like Drake Powell, who's a forward, definitely not a power forward though. I feel like at this point, but I haven't. Cam Boozer's good too, I guess, and that's not to single out like Peterson, who's the point guard, but because you'd be thrilled with him too, especially after you're missing out on Harper. But yeah, AJ's the guy that kind of stands out to me. How about you?
AJ's always been the name that everybody's been watching, and I think that being in KD's AAU program and having a close relationship with him and developing under his watch, like it makes him more intriguing. We had Teeth Van Horn. Shout out to Teeth TVH. Do you think the Nets will do anything surprising with the leftover cap space outside of re-signing the restricted free agents?
No, just because again, like I think they Listen, the Nets are not a tanking team, but they're also not, like, stupid. Like, I think they
Yeah,
understand that, like, last year was like, "All right, we have these veterans on our team, and for better or worse, they're on our team, and we're gonna play them because this is how the coach wants to do it, and, yeah, maybe we wanna bring their value up too." And, that led to some wins that they probably shouldn't have picked up. Now, there are fewer veterans on the team. They're not gonna recreate that problem for themselves again in terms of, jockeying for draft position by adding veterans that they're then gonna, Jordy's gonna want to play and things like that. So I don't foresee them putting themselves in that difficult position again where they have these older guys on the team who frankly deserve to start and Jordy's gonna want to play big minutes. There's not a lot of guys left out there who, I think would be surprising kind of guys to sign at this point either.
no, no. Cam Thomas seems like the last uh, whatever conundrum or situation that they need to handle. But no, I don't think they do anything with like anything significant or worthy of talking about, or else Keith Van Horn, we'd be talking about it right now, respectfully. Like I'm kind of just disgusted at this point, and I'm waiting for Cam Thomas to return as a Brooklyn Net. I'm not like I don't know. How, does it really change your outlook on the Brooklyn Nets if Cam Thomas isn't back? I'm piggybacking off of these
Uh,
guys.
I, I'll leave it this. I think honestly, we just watched a bad basketball season. Draft large part didn't go the way we wanted, and now we're just bored. So we're sitting with these like not so like fun feelings, and there's nothing for us to entertain ourselves with except a Cam Thomas sitting in the waiting room. So it's just like sour thing after like sour thing. There's nothing for us to focus on. I think it's just like a bad spot that like, kind of like feeds into like negativity right now.
Yeah, I guess you could say ain't shit funny, huh?
Yeah, it's really depressing every word that just came out of my mouth there. But
It was. You kind of made me sad over here.
I'm gonna watch Shark Week tonight, and it'll be good, like old Shark Week, not new Shark Week, and it'll cheer me right back up.
You know, you had a Shark Tank reference on the show.
That's
I don't know
great.
if you
Yeah,
did that
two
on
different
purpose.
kinds
Really, really, really impressive. Uh, the creative Colin Hellwig.
of sharks.
We gotta go a little offshore, pun unintended,
uh,
on July 24th of the Brooklyn podcast.
mhm. Very much so. Yeah, the creative Colin Helwig. That sounds like a character on like Barney or something. Who like delivers paintings or something.
All right, bro. You got anything else you want to throw out at Nets fans or listeners or anything like that? You want to talk about the last 5 years, what their worst move was?
You hit the nail on the head with your tweet. It was not signing James Harden. It's such a and lazy was the perfect way to say it because it's so easy to say, "Oh, it didn't work." No, it really fucking worked. They just had piss poor luck, which is a lame thing to say in the sports world, but doesn't mean it's not true.
Where do these people like? No disrespect to the writer of that article, but where did they come up with this? Like that,
Because
there.
it's
I could have
easy.
thought
It's
it's
easy to
easy.
say. It's
Yeah,
easy to just say, "Oh, it didn't work." It's a lot harder to say, "Oh, well, poor injuries at poor times," and then, Kyrie Irving played in the only city in the world where there's a vaccine mandate and, they were pissed about that. Like, it's a lot of work to do all that. And, didn't do as much work there. I'll say it was lazy. You said it
no,
too.
no, and I mean, they said trading for James Harden, I would still do it 10 out of 10 times. You make that
Yeah,
gamble. You're
bro.
Sean Marks, you make that gamble. It
Mhm.
doesn't you put together one of the best big threes of all time, and then you traded him for Ben Simmons. So, someone got angry at me. They were like, "That's not the full trade. The full trade was Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, 2 first-round picks." I was like, "I know." But Ben Simmons is who you were telling Kevin Durant that's gonna be your number 2 if Kyrie doesn't work out, and
Yeah.
that was the beginning of the end. So we don't need to get into it again. Anything else you want to throw out there? We've had a lot of just like wild Twitter discourse lately, but that's just what it is at this point of the season.
Yeah. No, I just want to thank you guys for rocking with us. We're going to hire a tech guy at the Brooklyn Pod in these next 2 weeks. And we're going to come back. It's going to be fiber optic. I'm going to get a better haircut. Everything's going to be cleaner. You guys are going to be blown away. So
You
Yes,
heard the
they can.
man. Colin's gonna get a haircut. I'm gonna get a new Wi-Fi router, maybe a new face. Do you all a favor. But in the meantime, as Colin said, thank you all for rocking with us and supporting us. Dog days hopefully will be over soon.